Okay, going for a take. Take one. Action.
We are going for a take where we get the take of those who work in the film and TV industry on a specifically chosen film and about their time in the business.
And today's take is on the new M. Night Shyamalan film, Trap. And this is your spoiler warning.
And in today's take, we're joined with Coronation Street actor Calum Lill. How you doing, man?
Woo! Yeah, hello. I'm good, thank you. Look, I'm gonna grass you up. This is take two, and the reason it's take two is because you said the spoiler warning. Now, I started listening to a podcast before, an earlier one you did, and I had to turn it off after 5 minutes because it spoiled.
Really?
I was listening to the Liam one, and I was like, well, I should have watched this film, but that's my fault for not being on it with my films because I need to be more on it. But I'm very glad.
Bike riders?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, and I was like,
in the description, and then we're like, we should probably say.
It's because I was driving and you did say spoiler warning. I was like, but I wasn't there in time. But I should have watched the film by now. But we've just been to the cinema and it was very good. Don't need to now. It's on my list. It's on my list.
We dissected it so thoroughly.
You can just watch the scenes all in your head without seeing the whole film now.
Yeah. It's funny, like quite often we'll just like throw something and I'll be like, oh, okay, I don't think that can go on the shorts because like the shorts won't have a spoiler warning or anything at all. It'll be like, I don't know, there was one where you were like, yeah, and the time that you got shot in the head at the end and the end scene, I just thought the end was amazing. I'll be like, I don't think people, but I mean, same with this movie, to be fair. Like, I watched some interviews for research. I mean, some of the reveal happened straight away. To be fair, we can talk about it, spoiler warning. Because it talks about him being a serial killer, but all the interviews with him, they say it's right at the start of any of the interviews, and I was like, oh, cool, because I didn't get that from the trailer. I don't know if you guys did.
I got it from the trailer. I knew there was something up with him. He was too happy, like you see in the start of the film, for example, he's like really, really happy all the time, and you're like, something's not right.
Yeah.
There's you're gonna do something. You just know. And in the trailer, I thought the same. I was like, the story is orientated around him, so therefore he's gonna have to have something interesting about him, a little quirk. And I think the quirks in his work came through quite quickly when I realized that he was in fact a serial killer.
Yeah. There's just an unsettling undertone in his demeanor and his energy, and what's like going on underneath. You never quite know what he's thinking, and I think that's what his creepy vibe just gave it that edge to his performance, and it made the whole film. It gave it its energy, its creepy energy, but I was, because of his like sociopathy. Is that how you say it? Sociopathy?
Sociopathic.
Sociopathy. I know what
you mean. Something.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Just not an agreement.
But yeah. But like your character as well, at the moment in Corrie, he has he's quite mental, isn't he?
I mean, I don't know if this makes him better or worse, but he's actually not a sociopath, so he knows what he's doing is wrong. But he compartmentalizes women into like women that are worthy and women that are lesser. Right. So he knows he would never do it to a woman that he views as, so my character Joel's engaged to Dee Dee, who he sees as like a good woman who'd be a good mother to children, and he'd never treat her like that, of course. But then this person who's got it's very working class, and well, you'd probably call it like a, very lower working class and troubled background, no one looking out for her, quite mouthy. He sees her as lesser, and he knows what he's doing is wrong, but he does it anyway because it doesn't matter if you do it to that person. So I'm not sure which is worse, if a sociopath has no empathy or if it's someone who picks and chooses who they have empathy for.
Right. There was a quote I saw online of in terms of the sociopathy, or however you say it, because I still don't think we've quite figured that one out, of not caring about anybody else. Like something about superheroes, for example, they will put all morals aside to get to win, basically. And for this character, he put everything aside, even his daughter, in a way, in this film, to win. And you see him constantly trying to figure out ways of, let's go down this trap door, or let's go behind stage, or let me go help this poor girl out who's about to go unconscious, or let me go to the back room to get a T-shirt for his daughter, just to get like the lanyard. Like, I think the 3D-ness of his character was very good, fun to watch, because you could see the layers start to tear like an onion, like that Shrek reference. You could see the layers.
Instantly just
Layer.
in my head.
Yeah, you can see the layers like peeling away at each time.
Are you saying Shrek is a sociopath?
I could be.
Could be.
It's an exclusive.
Shrek 5.
I know Donkey is.
What makes you say that?
He's just too happy, isn't he?
Yeah,
He's just
suspicious.
all the time. Like,
There's a really good book that I listened to for research for the character called The Psychopath Test. And it's by John Ronson. Mark Ronson, I think, makes music. I think it's by someone called John. The surname's definitely Ronson, but it's called The Psychopath Test. And it was so interesting because in the film, when you're listening to the person who makes what was she called? She was a criminal profiler.
The FBI agent.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the profiler, and she said, whoever we're looking for won't be phased at all by this. We're looking for someone who's going to be really calm, and he cottoned onto it and then started acting really frantic in front of the police. And in that book, something they said was really interesting is they tested the kind of a pain and fear response on psychopaths. So they got a car battery with a really intense shock and wired it up to them. And they said, you're going to receive a shock. They did it with people who weren't diagnosed psychopaths, sociopaths, and people that were. And then the people that weren't, their heart rate and fight or flight response picks up, and then they get the shock and it really hurts them, and then they settle down. And with the psychopaths, they had no build-up anticipation to it at all. Felt the shock, really hurt, and then it went down. Then they said, we're going to shock you again. So the response was slightly higher in the people that weren't psychopaths, that knew what was coming. Psychopaths, even though they knew the pain that was coming, they still had absolutely no fear response. No.
So no, like cortisol was going up, like
No bother. They know that something bad is coming, and yet there's still on like a chemical level, there's no response to it. They're completely calm.
but like no emotion at all.
None.
Why do you think
Not
that
just
is?
fear.
No. Well, it's to perceived danger. So there's police. He's getting surrounded by SWAT. The walls are closing in, and he's still fine. What's my next move? What's the best thing to do from here?
Do they feel? I'm just trying to figure out like what did you not feel any emotions, like not even anger or
So they just feel strategy.
just strategy?
Yeah, so the whole film is doing strategy, but it's not coming from a place of I'm scared of getting arrested. It's I don't want to be arrested. I want to get out of here. So what's the best thing for me to do? And it's like, but they said they make the best actors as well. It's not an acting book, but they say in it they make the best actors because
that's it.
you can take
Kinda
on
awkward.
whatever role you need to get whatever you want. So if you need to be the guy who's helping a girl in a medical tent, if you need to be the guy who's feeling sorry for his daughter, if you need to be the frantic worker who's just seen an explosion go off in his colleague's face, you can do that immediately to get, and they're such good judges of, not judges of character, but judges of what's this person's strength and weakness. So in the book, he goes to, what's it called, where Charles Bronson was? Is it Bors? No. There's not a mental asylum isn't the word, but like it is an institution that's like a high security prison that Charles Bronson was at. And he goes to it and he says he's spending time with a guy who was claiming he wasn't a psychopath, but he just said to him, and he was like, I'm not sure if he is or if he isn't. And the guy's saying to him, no, of course I'm not. It makes me really sad when people don't like me. And he went, what do you mean it makes you sad? What do you mean by that? And then he was like, oh, maybe he's not a psychopath. And he went, well, what I mean is when they don't like me, it's hard for me to get what I want from them. And he was like, oh. He said, what do you mean? He said, well, watch this. And a guy had just sat down next to him and he went, oh no, his family had just left. They'd come to visit him. And he went, your family are really nice. It was so nice to see them. They seem like lovely people. And the guy was like, oh, thank you so much. And the guy left. And he went, I want the book that he's got, so he'll give it me now. I've said that. And he was like, what? So they just know how to strategize and be with.
So they're thinking of things from rather than like an emotional point of view of the consequences, they're thinking of an outcome orientated towards themselves.
Completely.
It's when you come to like acting work and it's all like objective based and stuff like that.
So
I remember an acting teacher told me, and I like, again at drama school you take stuff on, you go, okay, cool, this must be gospel. And now I don't really rate it as much, but he was saying that his point of view was that every human being has like an innate selfishness to them. And he even like equated like Mother Teresa or like Florence Nightingale and being like the objective was to help the person, but it's because of the sort of dopamine or serotonin or whatever that they received from helping others, as opposed to just being altruistic and helping someone else. I remember at the time, I was young and I was like, oh, cool, okay, wow, that's dark, the world's messed up. And now I'm just like, I really don't believe in that. And definitely based upon what you're saying as well, from what you've read, it really doesn't seem to scan at all with what the sort of average human being is. What was interesting though as well, going back to Josh Hartnett as well, he talked about how he read, and I think you brought this up in a little bit, he read loads of hero books or people from wars or whatever, or past like tacticians, like you said. And he said that actually there was a time when these people were really helpful to society in terms of, winning wars back in the day or whatever, because they were able to remove empathy and just think tactically.
Yeah.
And they knew how to get that outcome, and they knew how to do it strategically, and they knew how to remove the human quality that made them reticent to affect another person, which meant that they were then able to just help their tribe as opposed to think about the wider, human race.
Yeah.
Would you say that's still the case now? Like there's sociopaths and psychopaths in high positions of
Definitely.
the military and
It's all for
government?
sure.
Well, it was in that book. It said it's not just there is; it's that more than likely they are, because that's how they've got there. So the top companies, you're kind of like, well, actually not to name companies because I don't want to get sued, but the
That's
top
scary.
companies that you would think of, and as well, politicians at the top. They said most politicians at the top, especially the countries that are a bit dodged, like. He said they will have gotten there by being psychopaths, because it's do and say whatever you need to do to get there. And the CEOs that can go, well, we'll make 5% more a year if we make these 10,000 people redundant. So let's do that right now. And there's no empathy there.
It's
that's
all
better
money and
for you.
numbers and
So that way you said they've bettered civilization for a certain amount of time. That still exists now, and they're still in these companies.
so what's the difference between a psychopath and a sociopath?
When I was listening to the book, they said that you can kind of interchange the words mainly.
Right.
You can kind of use them interchangeably.
Okay, so but why are there two different words?
I'm not sure.
then?
I don't want to.
I'd imagine socio and psycho. Psycho's all about the mind, so I don't.
Well, that's
one
what-
of the-
Yeah,
I believe
I-
you, man. I was like, yes.
No, I think if I'm right, it's like a sociopath almost has been socialized to
Yes.
be one. That's what I'm pretty sure. If I remember correctly in the book, was the common understanding for a while, but then they realised no, they're both born like that anyway, so they're kind of two sides of the same coin.
Right.
So
Okay.
taking this back to this story and this character, what did you think of the story in general with this character?
What was nice for me is that I didn't watch the trailer, so I had no idea what I was going into. So I didn't at the beginning, when he was like overly nice with his daughter, I was like, is he just not worked to create a good relationship with this actor and he's like over egging it? And then when I realised, I had no idea what was coming. So another thing I really liked about the story is you weren't spoon-fed anything. You were just kept wondering for ages and ages, and then you had more questions and more questions, and then it all starts piecing together.
Yeah.
And I really like that, where a filmmaker has trusted that you can stay with them despite not knowing. And it's not like, I hate when you watch a film and the first 30 minutes is like, and this is this character, and this is this one, and this is how they know each other. It's exposition for 30 minutes, and then the film starts.
Yeah.
So I really liked the fact that it was like, the film's happening, you don't know what's going on yet, but it's going to keep going anyway.
Yeah.
So I really enjoyed that.
Yeah. The audiences hate being spoon-fed. They want to figure stuff out. So I love how it just threw you into it. Because at first I thought it was like, maybe this is going to be like a Die Hard film or whatever. Like,
Yeah.
he's got to like save his daughter and all these people from, I don't know, terrorists who tried to kill this single girl. And then it just takes a turn. And it's like, okay,
But-
there's something going on with this guy here.
Yeah.
But the thing for me is you're going along with the story as well. Like the story itself is evolving as the story progresses, and you're evolving with it because you're thinking constantly like, oh, what's going to happen? How is he going to get out of this situation? Because there was times in that film where I was like, how's he going to get out of this? Like, and then at the end when the kettle was on, all I was thinking about was there's definitely sugar in the kettle, and the kettle's going to explode, and
Yeah.
it's going to kill them both.
Yeah.
And then when he gets, when it's spoiler, he gets killed. Well,
At
not
the end.
killed, not killed, but like knocked out,
Arrested. They had to tase him like how many? 5 times, 6 times.
This is the only thing I was like, what he was like going onto an unconscious state, and then all of a sudden he's out of it and he's fighting people.
Yeah, I thought maybe. I thought
yeah.
maybe his wife like drugged the pie that he gave him.
Well, that's
Yeah,
what
she
I
did,
did.
didn't
Supposed,
Did she?
Supposed to
Yeah.
have, but then
But he just
all of
came
a
out of
sudden-
it.
Yeah, all of a sudden he's fine again.
Yeah, and then killing people.
Because
It's like, what?
I know because M Night Shyamalan,
Smashed it.
because he also directed like Split and Glass.
Yeah.
And like these are the characters that he put them into this universe. They have like superpowers, but like some of the characters are like what's James McAvoy. His character is mentally unstable, like different split personalities, and that's where his power comes from. And I was just wondering, maybe this character now was put in the same universe and has like superpowers as well.
Yeah, I thought the exact same thing. It felt like he spoke to, I assume, his mum, kind of as a ghost, weird spectre in the corner of the doorway.
Yeah.
And again, with my hearing, it sounded like she was saying, "You can be who you're meant to be," something along those lines. Like that anger is actually who you are. Was that
It's like you're not a
basically-
monster anymore or something.
Yeah, when she was like, "You're not a monster anymore," because now he's accepted that this is who he is, and then that's how he got all his strength,
Yeah.
where he just became this beast. It
Yeah.
definitely gave echoes of James McAvoy in Split, but yeah, it definitely felt like it was a weird turn from, when sometimes you feel like a director's being a bit more metaphorical now. And you're just like, oh, okay, what are you trying to say? This feels like a departure from the realism that you've already like established. And now he's like 20 tasers take him down, and he's also like knows how to pick locks with the bike tires, little whatever it is. Like, oh wow, he's a genius. How does he know this? And that's when I was like, I don't know how much I believe this anymore. And he keeps knowing how to escape like constantly. And now
Isn't that
I
his
started just
objective,
rolling my
though?
eyes a little bit, to be honest.
But you got a different perspective on that because he kept talking about keeping the two lives separate, and then when they sort of clashed together, I think he just snapped then, and this monster came out. So
I think when the two lives came together, that's when what destroyed him in a way, because when they were separate, he could sort of distinguish not what was right and what was wrong, but where to do things and how. At the end, when everything became so like sporadic, sporadical. When everything became sporadic, you could see mistakes in his work and what he was doing. Whereas when he had time to think about it, or on the spot, but that split second of thinking, it allowed him to think of opportunities to get out.
yeah, he was like a sycophant, like how we strategizing constantly, being nice to people, how we can utilize them and use them and get out of these traps that the police have been setting up for him. So it was really interesting to see how his mind worked.
And I guess if someone can strategize that heavily, there's no reason why they couldn't have foreseen maybe one time being in handcuffs and thinking, I better teach myself how to pick handcuffs.
Yeah, true.
Yeah,
But I didn't think that at the time. I did think, oh God, far-fetched. But
Yeah.
yeah,
if for someone who plans to that degree, I guess they could have
yeah.
planned that. But if he's just going to become a superhero in this world, then it could
Probably.
just be that he's got this.
Yeah.
His superpower is like mad strategy and
He's
knowledge
just
of how
really
to get out of
calculated and
situations.
smart and stuff. Yeah.
Just before we finish up, what did you guys think about the soundtrack with Shyamalan's daughter as well? Salika, I think she's called. Yeah.
I felt like I was at a Taylor Swift concert.
Yeah. I
Lady
was getting ready
Raven.
to put my phone out and like put the torch on and wave it around.
Yeah. They could definitely. I mean, they could definitely pass for pop songs. I more enjoyed the. I felt like most scenes. One thing I wrote down in the notes on my phone was not many words underscored well. And do you know, like it wasn't just filled with dialogue all the time to explain what was going on, and it was done really well with like cut into a facial expression, cut into a thing, and cut into a different facial expression, and then you go, oh, so that must mean that he's worried about this and that and da-da-da, and it just had like a really good music under it the whole time. And I think whenever that's done well, you know, it's like he's walking in, he's having a good time with his daughter, you see his eyes look up, the camera looks to what he's looking at, and it's 4 police officers, then it looks back to him, and then you see he's like strategizing. And I think that's way better than you know, it being done of like, I don't know,
in a narration. It was at this moment that he realized.
You know what I mean? But it was all the music's just indicating and hinting at what you're doing. And I started to notice, I was like, oh, it's very rare that there's not even a quiet undertone in this. There was always something.
Yeah.
And I really, that's what stood out to me more than his daughter's pop songs. Not that I've got anything against his daughter's pop songs, but that's the bit that stood out to me.
The songs weren't exactly the music I'd listened to. So I wasn't really
same.
fanning over it.
But the lyrics themselves, when I did like tune into them, seemed to be relevant to the situation that was happening, at least slightly. Particularly when they're in the house at the end, just playing the piano. It's talking about the ghost that's hiding inside your own home. Yeah. And then it's like he was listening to the song and feeling that was part of him as well.
Yeah.
Fair play. I missed that. I didn't dislike the songs, by the way. I just thought I was just really impressed by the score. But I like that. I didn't realise that.
I was pleasantly surprised when I saw Russ come out. I saw Russ and I was like, that's Russ, isn't it? I said to Matt, I was like, that's Russ. I'm sure it is because I like his music. So seeing him there and then seeing Kid Cudi as well, like him just coming out of nowhere, and I'm like, what? Like, I literally didn't see any of it in the trailer, and seeing 2 artists that I listened to and being like, oh, sick.
Mate, when you said when I saw Russ come out, so for context, Russell T Davies was watching the film as well, right? And then we were chatting to him after it. I thought you were just on really good base with him. It's like, oh, your mate Russ, is it? Your mate Russ. Right, I understand what you mean now.
Yeah, no, Russ, not Russell T Davies. We can have a good chat with him after the film. Which was nice.
Yeah.
He sat right behind us. What a pleasant surprise.
Yeah, what a nice guy.
It's nice, yeah.
Yeah, he was lovely. One thing that about the movie that I just can't quite understand, his wife, she like sort of knew this whole time. I don't know how long she knew. But it's like I'm just a bit curious. Like they didn't really explore like that side of his life.
Yeah, she had suspicions, and then she like found a ticket stub and to the concert and left it in one of his fake houses,
trying to set him up. While still living with him.
I thought she was going to be the psychopath. I honestly thought it was going to be a plot twist and he was innocent and she was like the mastermind behind it.
When I was watching it the whole time, I was thinking, right, so they don't know who the killer is, but they knew the killer was coming to this event. So how have they done that? And then for me, when I found out the wife said that, I was like, oh, that makes sense. And then nothing else came of it. And I was like, was that, it almost felt to me like it'd been like, right, I want the ticket's the reason the police have found out, but I can't think of how they'd found the ticket. Oh, let's say the wife left it somewhere. And then it just wasn't explored anymore. It probably wasn't that, but because it wasn't fully explored, that's what it felt like to me.
Yeah, it's like why wouldn't the wife just call the police and have him arrested on the spot?
Yeah, exactly.
Why this?
Probably figure out how to get out of it though.
Yeah, but the answer to that is because then the film wouldn't work.
Yeah.
And then 5 minutes long. And when that's the answer, it's like, oh well, there's something's not been fully thought through here. Maybe it's not that at all. I'm sure. Like,
yeah, you could definitely watch that film twice and then pick up like more stuff that you've not seen the first time. But like, what you guys? Like, what's your overall like thought on that film then? Before we wrap up part 1.
It was decent. I felt like, towards the end it started to drag for me. But I really enjoyed just watching the acting, particularly Josh Hartnett. When the character is also acting, it's just really interesting to watch an actor act within a film separately as like different characters too. It was just interesting. It was cool.
I really enjoyed his acting, playing a psychopath who's devoid of emotion, but he's putting on a facade. I really enjoyed watching him, and I wanted to keep watching more. See, how he'd like carry on, like breaking out of these traps and how he'd carry on strategizing. He was relentless, so it was quite good. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it, and I think it was nice going in not knowing anything. And I think it'd also be great to watch it again with now knowing what's going on, because then I think the bits where I thought, was it that just a bad acting choice, I can then watch and go, no, it wasn't. He knew, he knows what's going on. And because I'm playing, well, not something quite similar, I'm just playing a bad person at the moment. I think watching it, there was bits where I thought he could have taken it further, but there was many more moments where I watched it and went, he did that really well. That's made me think of a bit where I could have taken it way further. So it was nice just watching it watching it for work as well as watching it for pleasure. I was like, it was really interesting in that regard as well.
Yeah.
Nice.
What about you, Ben?
I liked it. I thought the story was good. I liked that we were taken on a journey and it wasn't all, like you said, spoon-fed to us. I enjoyed a lot of the acting. There were some moments where I was like, but there's always going to be that. You're never going to get a perfect film. Well, apart from the odd few. But overall, it was a good film to watch, and it was good to watch it with you guys. Yeah.
Decent.
Decent.
On to part two.
Cut.
Thank you.
And cut.